Bartoo was on a roll last night as they rolled out the college football playoff rankings. And I think, I'm going to let him frame it up. Matrix Analytical, the number one staffing firm in the country for college football, probably for other sports eventually. But he joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. And this segment is brought to you by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook and Lounge. Bartoo, good morning. How you doing, bud?
Dude, I am doing great. It is another beautiful hump day. So, it's a great morning, and it is always fun to be part of college football. But yeah, we had you teed it up a little bit there. We had our first ranking committee. Top 25 come out last night, huh? What'd you think?
Well, when Georgia was after the two conversations that we've had this week, and you were walking me through your top four and then your top 10, as soon as Georgia was at number 2, I checked Twitter with you. And so you tell our listeners, I mean, you called on to their model and their pattern from the jump.
Right. I guess we should frame it up for
let's do that
for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. So as most everybody knows, right? I mean, what we do in college football has migrated into analytics for coaching and staff building, right? That's our big thing that we do. But we still dabble in the dark arts of being a devil's advocate and trying to solve story problems. And with the top 25 ranking with the committee, in the first week it came out, Bill Hancock gave you all the variables that were used to rank teams. Now, I know since then they said, well, you can use other things, but guess what? They really don't. So we figured out the pattern in which they rank teams, and it's actually very consistent. That's probably what fans don't realize is the media warps all of these rankings, but the actual week over week, if you use the same, if y'all sat down with me and I can show you quality wins of every team over the last 9 years, top 25 wins, strength of schedule, okay, margin of victory, margin of loss, I can show you the exact pattern to ranking all these teams. And so actually the committee, I personally believe inside the numbers, the committee has been remarkably consistent to what Bill Hancock said would be part of the model. And the committee has been remarkably fair in implementing those. They haven't really had a brand bias. They haven't really ignored the numbers. They've done everything pretty much by the book, which is great for fans, and because as fans, you don't realize it, but I can see the consistency for everybody. So I know that if Mississippi State has a good resume, they're going to be treated fairly. I know if Ole Miss has a good resume. Last night, we had them pegged at 9.5. That was their projected ranking last night, was 9.5, based on their resume, based on the last 45 rankings. We had Ole Miss at 9.5. Okay, we had LSU at 15. All right, and so I love the consistency. And last night, that all went out the window with Georgia. All of it. That was the single biggest bunch of ignoring the ranking rules. And just, I don't know what it was, Bo. I mean, I want to call them a bunch of names, but I think it's just horse crap. I think they were scared of the public by putting Georgia seemingly where they belonged, right? And I know a lot of fans, like last night when I was talking about it, there was two things that always came back about when I was discussing it on Twitter. And one of them was, hey, Dave, it always works out in the end. Yes. It does always work out in the end, and it doesn't matter what I say or you say. It all comes out in the wash, and whatever the Final Four is the Final Four. But from a fan base, don't you want to know that if you follow the ranking rules in the process, you are going to be ranked fairly?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So the only two teams that were not ranked fairly last night were Georgia and Florida State. I mean, I hope you went on yesterday in your show and said, look, Ohio State's the easy number one. I've been saying that for what, 2 weeks now?
Yeah.
And guess what, where they're at? they're number one. In spite of Georgia and Michigan being 1-2 all season in all the other polls, Ohio State was clear number one. Michigan was a clear number three. I mean, look at Michigan and Georgia. This cracks me up looking at it, right? So Michigan and Georgia both 8-0. Michigan's strength of schedule is 88. Georgia's 108. Michigan has 4 quality wins, and Bill Hancock said a quality win is a win over a top or a team that's over 500. Michigan has 4 of them. Georgia has 2. Neither have beat a top 25 team. Georgia's margin of victory is 25.8, which is game control. That's their fancy word for margin of victory is game control. And Michigan is at 34.8. Michigan has everything over Georgia, except I guess their name isn't Georgia. So I don't know that the two problems here is, one, was it a committee? If it's the committee being scared, it's the first time that they're scared of public backlash, which doesn't make any sense to me. And if they're not scared, then this is the first confirmation I have ever seen in 46 ranking shows that the committee took their gut and projection of where they expect a team to be and actually acted on it, right?
Wow.
So, I mean, nobody's mad about it, right? Because people are going, well, Georgia is probably the number 2 team, but we've never had a committee go, well, this is probably the number 22 team or number 2 team. They've always treated everybody fair. So down the road, if these ranking rules are still in place, which they probably will be, and the committee is still in place to rank teams, what the ripple effect is they have set the precedence that if somebody goes, yeah, Georgia, their resume sucks, and they haven't played anybody, and they really haven't beat the crap out of everybody, but, I'm going to rank them ahead of Mississippi State, who's done everything right and has a way better resume. I mean, how pissed off would you be if it came down to that?
Wow.
Right? And now we've set the precedent. They have done everything consistent up until last night. Now we've set the precedent that the committee can just go, well, I'll be damned with resume and performance and quality wins and top 25 wins if we just think you're that good, because there's nobody on the committee that can watch these games and say, I understand X's and O's well enough to know who's better.
Right.
We know that, right?
Right.
If you put Barry Alvarez and and you put Dan Mullen on the committee and a bunch of former coaches and say, here, watch film for 100 hours a week, okay, I'll trust their X's and O's regardless of the records, but not this group, right? So that's my biggest problem is you had 45 weeks of consistent behavior, and even this week, look at everybody else. You did Florida State, we had them at number 2. We had Georgia at 4. They got flip-flopped, okay? Everything else, we had Texas, Alabama, Oklahoma, Ole Miss in the exact order. I'm looking at it right now. Heck, I took a screenshot. I sent this to you. You know how dead on it was, except Georgia and Florida State. And my biggest problem is it's telling everybody is, look, even if you follow the rules, we don't care. We just think that brand right now is better. And that is just not cool by me.
No. Wow. So the first time since 2014.
Yep. 9 years.
Okay.
Yeah. 9 years where I can look at this and go, that is absolute horse feathers. Put any word you want in there. I wasn't mad about the ranking and being wrong. That's what a lot of people are saying. Quit whining about being wrong. That's not the point. The point is I had 45 weeks of predictive behavior using the same model, and even though they weren't transparent about it, they were consistent. I was mad about the lack of consistency, not for Georgia, but against the rest of college football.
Okay. Dave Bartoo, Matrix Analytical, #1 college football staffing firm in the country. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. So Bartoo doesn't care where anybody is. He's just saying, hey, since 2014, this has been the model. Mm-hmm. And they went away from it for the first time last night by putting Georgia at number 2. But the common fan that's busy goes, oh, yeah, Georgia should be number 2, but they shouldn't be, is what you're saying. They may be in the end, but they should not be right now.
Let it play out, right? That's what all the other committees have done is they've let it play out. Now, what they will do is they will tweak some things. I think that Georgia at number 2 is a massive tweak, okay? Oregon, right up next to Washington, was a tiny tweak. If anybody listened to my videos that I put out last night on my Instagram yesterday morning, I said Oregon is one of those teams that might move up in the rankings, because what the committee will commonly do is they'll take the top two contenders and put them close together, right? And so the committee, by putting Oregon at 6, we had Oregon at 10, but I said Oregon might be right up next to Washington, because the committee is going to look at this and go, okay, Washington's been sliding. Their resume isn't that much better than Oregon. Oregon would have beat them if Dan doesn't go for touchdowns every time he could have taken field goals.
Right.
And so Oregon was your other big winner last night, from 10 spots up to number 6. But I understand it putting them next to Washington, because if either one of them went out, they're probably in. But I don't know which one it's going to be. So that's kind of a safety net there. And those are the two big teams we had in. The other one was USC. We had USC at 26. I think they came in at 22, 23, something like that. So your three big winners
20.
that were out. Yeah, 20. Okay. So your three winners last night in terms of being overranked, in my opinion, inside the numbers. Georgia, obviously. Oregon, understandable, up there next to Washington, but still below the undefeateds. And then USC in there. And there was only one loser last night. That was Florida State, from 2 to 4. Everybody else was either dead on the model or within 1 to a half spot of the ranking.
Should Florida State, should Michael Alford, the AD, or someone be concerned?
I don't know if I'd be concerned, because ultimately it's going to play out. Like I said, the concern here is going forward. Do they just get to go with their gut feeling? And, can they just be afraid of the public and go, well, the public really likes Georgia. I don't want the backlash, Now, if I was the Florida State AD, see, there's a problem. It's a politics thing. Do you lose your mind publicly and call everybody out for what is, to me, an obvious transgression in the numbers in terms of going against it and not being consistent, or you just shut up and let it play out? You know me. I mean, if I was making $100,000 a month for Florida State, I'd be losing my mind publicly, because everybody'd love me for it.
Right. He already did that this past summer on conference expansion. Okay. And I liked it. I mean, most guys aren't vocal. Most of these ADs don't say anything. Michael Alford, hell, he came on this show and was very opinionated. He went to Mississippi State, so that was anyway.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, there's one of the first problems. You should have just said that in the first place.
I know it. Can you believe he's the AD at Florida State? I know.
Oh boy.
Okay, somebody asked on our Ag Up Equipment text line. We're visiting with Bartoo, Matrix Analytical, on the Out of Bounds show. Bartoo, why is Missouri ahead of LSU if LSU beat Missouri?
Oh, okay. So I'll reverse engineer this for y'all. Okay. Number one, head to head only matters if everything else is equal. Okay. That's what Hancock said. Okay. So when you're looking at ranking the importance of things, head to head would only come into play if everything else was equal. We got Missouri at 7-1. LSU is at 6-2. That's not equal. Missouri's strength of schedule is at 48. LSU's at 37. That's pretty equal. Missouri has 3 quality wins. They beat 3 teams over 500. LSU's only beat 1. Missouri and LSU both have a top 25 win. Okay. Missouri's margin of victory is a little bit less than LSU. So these things aren't equal right now. If LSU was 7-1 and their only loss was to Missouri, they might be either one spot below or one spot above Missouri. Okay, but that's like saying, look, whatever. If North Carolina was in the top 25, it's like saying, should Virginia be ranked above them? So you got to put head to head in your mind as the least important thing. That's your tiebreaker. Okay. Now I know a lot of fans want to say, well, head to head should be the most important. It just isn't. That's just the way it works. I don't make up the rules, right? I know we have Louisville over Notre Dame, but again, you got Louisville with 1 loss, Notre Dame with 2. So we don't have equal things there. So going forward, folks, when you're looking at head to head, put that at the bottom of your list of importance. That's kind of your tiebreaker. It's not at the top, it's at the bottom. And I think that's the thing you got to get in your mind. Even if you believe Missouri should be ranked below LSU, that's not the way the system has been consistent over the last 9 years.
All right, we have Ole Miss fans asking, why is Oklahoma ranked ahead of Ole Miss?
God, it was razor thin, man. I talked about this in my video cast yesterday. I wasn't sure if Ole Miss would be above Oklahoma, but then I started thinking about it. Remember how I just said a minute ago where the committee likes to keep competitors close?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was looking at Oklahoma, Ole Miss. I talked about this yesterday, and I was like, man, because the Ole Miss resume, here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at my numbers right now. Okay. We got both 7-1. Oklahoma's strength of schedule is 49. Ole Miss is 29. Checkbox Ole Miss, right? But remember, strength of schedule isn't that important. Oklahoma has 3 quality wins. Ole Miss has 2. Ole Miss has 2 top 25 wins. Oklahoma has 1. Margin of victory, Oklahoma's in the middle of the pack and well ahead of Ole Miss. Ole Miss hasn't been stomping the crap out of people, okay? So when you look across this, though, it looks very, very even. The reason I was more comfortable keeping Ole Miss below Oklahoma is because in order for Ole Miss to get in the SEC title game and potentially win it and get a playoff spot, they have to win out, and Alabama has to lose 2 out of 4, right? I think that's right. Isn't that right, Bo?
Yeah, that's what you told me. You said that Alabama has to lose twice, Ole Miss has to win out, and you said that Ole Miss has to win in the SEC championship game against Georgia again.
Yeah, to get into the playoffs. But see, what with Ole Miss, though, is the odds of Ole Miss winning out and Alabama losing 2 games so Ole Miss goes to the SEC title game as a one-loss team is very low. And so that's why we had projected Ole Miss below Oklahoma. It's razor thin. If it had come back flip-flopped, Ole Miss at 9 and Oklahoma at 10, I would have no argument with that because it is a razor thin difference between the two. I think the biggest difference is that Oklahoma and Texas are both looking to win out to get in. Ole Miss, even with the same record, has a much more difficult path to try to get in that SEC title game to get in the playoffs.
Okay. All right. Well, that takes us. We've got time. Let's hit the big game this week in the state of Mississippi is A&M at Ole Miss.
Oh, it's so tasty!
I know.
So tasty.
I know it's a 34-ounce bone-in ribeye. So I'm gonna tee you up, and you love to go through play callers and talent and all this, and everybody's going nuts. It's an 11 a.m. game here in Oxford. It's a 3.5-point spread. Ole Miss is the favorite. So you can start on offense versus defense, whichever team, and go from there.
Yeah, whatever direction we want to go there. Well, this game feels like Kentucky, Texas A&M last week. Or, Kentucky and Tennessee last week.
Yeah, which was a fantastic game.
Right. And what did we say on the show? Take the points, right? These are 2 evenly talented teams. The offense versus defense of Kentucky and Tennessee balanced each other out. The offense of Tennessee this year versus the Kentucky defense balanced it out. It was a very, very even football game. Talent-wise, very similar recruiting. Coaching staff grades, very, very similar. That was a great game on paper, in my opinion. That's why I love taking the points. Same in this game. I like taking the points with A&M. Recruiting is very similar from a talent perspective. Coaching staffs, very similar. And you look at the numbers year to date, you got strength versus strength and weakness versus weakness. You got strength of the Ole Miss offense, top 20, versus the A&M defense, top 20. And then you have the A&M offense, top 35, versus the Ole Miss defense, top 35. I think this is a wonderfully balanced game on paper. And my first question on this was, who am I getting points on? I think that's the betting edge, is whatever I can get plus points in a matchup like this, that's what I like. So who's going to win it? I don't know. You know me, I like to favor the better recruiter, which is Texas A&M. But from a betting standpoint, I believe this is a very even game, and I will take the points plus 3.5 A&M on the road this weekend.
Okay, the over-under is 54, Bartoo.
Oh, I am not touching that, brother. No. Remember, the midpoint of scoring in college football is 56, right? That is your most frequent hit total. So it's almost straddling that line. And so I was thinking if you were going to say the game total was in the 60s, I'd go under 54. It feels like no man's land to me. Really, really does. And so what does that pencil out? That's 30 to 27? No,
less than that.
24?
27, 24.
Yeah, 28. So they're saying it's going to be like a 28-27 football game. I can really, really see that because I just think it's balanced football. Not comfortable weighing in on a lean on that one right there. I'll just take my A&M plus points and hope for a really good football game.
All right, we still got a couple of minutes. Bartoo, Matrix Analytical, #1 staffing firm in the country, joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Lunch today is brought to you by Bulldog Burger in Ridgeland, Starkville, and Tupelo. Bartoo, LSU at Bama, real quick.
I'm actually this is so you got the best offense in the SEC against the best defense, right? You got the #1 scoring efficiency offense in the country, LSU, and you have the #9 scoring efficiency defense in the country, Alabama. That right there is awesome, right? But I think they're going to cancel themselves out. I think the real football game is the 105th defense of LSU against the 38th offense of Alabama. Both of those units need something good to happen to them, right? I mean, Alabama's been searching for offense all year. LSU's been searching for defense all year. This might be one of those, something has got to give in this football game. LSU's going to score a bunch of points, and Alabama's defense is going to be awesome. I think, like I said, I think those are going to play themselves to a stalemate. What I'm interested in this football game is who breaks out here. Does the Alabama offense break out against a defense that has given up more points than 105 other teams in the country per snap? Or is the Alabama offense really that bad and this LSU defense gets one over on them? So where's that one at? Is that in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. What's the line on that? Is that 3.5, 6.5?
It's 3. Bama -3.
Oh, so they're saying that this is an even matchup on a neutral field. Dang. Yeah, dude, it's like Bill Snyder. You either don't bet or you bet with Saban. So I'll leave the -3 at home and take Alabama to win and cover in that football game.
I got less than a minute. How surprised are you that Dabo Swinney and Clemson, that Dabo's -3 coach effect?
Something, things go up, things go down. It's, nobody's won 8. Nobody in college football has won 8. Had an 8-game win season or better in a row since 2000. Nobody. Everybody's had 7 wins, 6 wins, even Ohio State, Alabama, you name it. So, Look, you're supposed to have down years, right? The concern is, where is this starting a trend? All right? They have the talent, they have the coaching to turn this around. So is it just one bad year, or is this a new trend for Clemson as it falls apart and goes into a decade-long slide trying to rekindle itself?
All right. The Matrix, man. Tell Miss Matrix we said hello.
Absolutely. You guys all have a great day. Love you all.
See you, buddy. Dave Bartoo, Matrix Analytical, #1 college football staffing firm in the country. And he's calling them out, the College Football Playoff Committee, that Georgia should not be #2, that they went away from their model since 2014. I had lunch yesterday at Bulldog Burger. I had the jalapeno popper burger. And O'Hanrahan?
Yeah, O'Hanrahan's Revenge. That's a good one.
From Key City?
Yeah, Irish Red Ale.
It's fantastic.
It's a great beer.
It's great beer. Bulldog Burger. And somebody ordered fried pickles beside me.
Ooh.
And I was jealous. Bulldog Burger in Ridgeland, Bulldog Burger in Starkville, and Bulldog Burger in Tupelo. We'll see you tomorrow.